We are here today, and I will lead this off as chair of Budget and Appropriations. We're here today to call for an independent audit of Playland, this 280-acre park and National Historic Landmark that belongs to Westchester County and the people of Westchester County because of the numbers, because of the inconsistencies in the numbers that we are receiving from the administration and from the Parks and Recreation Department. There are omissions in the data. We are getting a very sad story, but a very incomplete story. And when it comes to hearing this story on the radio, CBS radio to be exact, without having any basis of understanding and hearing it there first that, Playland is doing very poorly, has caused, I think, great many of us some great concern that we don't know what the real numbers are here. And that's why we are calling for this independent audit. We are also taking a vow not to simply hand this beloved park and this true resource, this valuable resource of the counties, over to private operators or developers without a very rigorous analysis. Down below me at the podium here are 2 volumes of proposals that came in almost a year and a half ago for recommendations to how Playland can become profitable, how Playland can become a even greater gem than it is, how Playland can become an even more outstanding park. And to date, none of these proposals has reached the floor of the Board of Legislators. No recommendations have come down. The revenue numbers that have been given to us to date do not include substantial profit centers like parking and mini golf and all of the concession stands. And we have empty concession areas too. Concessionaires that were not brought back into the fold, into Playland this year. And outside of ride fees, we are just not seeing the kinds of numbers that we know exist here at Playland. Audits are good for business. We heartily recommend that audits be done, and we have audits done constantly. But we have not had an independent audit done of Playland for years, and it's time to do so. Legislation to authorize this will be forthcoming, and we'll move through Chairman Ryan's, Legislative Chair Ryan's committee. But we do need a full audit. And at this point, I would like to turn this over to Legislator Bill Ryan to continue on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. I hadn't thought or planned on introducing my remarks with the comments I'm going to make over the next couple of minutes, but I couldn't help but think about a conversation I had with a member of the current administration about a year ago, and after I was making this impassioned plea for Playland, I was hit with the response, "Oh, you're just a fan of Playland." And you know, that's absolutely right. Like the thousands and thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of admissions into Playland over the years, if you're going to start to identify the fans of Playland, I certainly am one. 50 years ago, and look at this place, 50 years ago, it was possible that was the day, as a young kid, I might have been traveling on a bus down from the city of Peekskill, because each day I participated in the Parks and Recreation Neighborhood Playground program, and I couldn't wait. Like so many other kids in Westchester, I couldn't wait for the permission slips to be given to me so I could go home and get my mother and father to sign off on my being able to ride the bus down here to Playland. And it was the greatest place. And it would probably be a morning like this when we would arrive and we'd have the whole day in front of us to have such a great time. I experienced that. My friends did. My children did. My grandchildren do. Families that still are in Westchester County, it's all going on with them. Families that have moved away and can't get here, perhaps, still remember those great times. This is a fantastic place, and for decades, it's been a fantastic family entertainment destination. But let's look at a couple of things. Playland isn't making the money that it should be, and that failure falls to the county executive. Before the opening of this season and the 2 prior seasons, legislators provided the administration with input and recommendations, suggestions in meetings personally with the highest levels of the government in the executive branch, as well as the department showing up at committee meetings on the board floor. We provided this to help reverse Playland's financial decline. I have to report to you today that I'm very sorry that these things were ignored. We asked the administration to develop options and alternatives that we could look at, ways in which we could do things better. And they failed to respond. I guess here's the main point. The administration has failed over these past 3 years to take the necessary steps to realize the full potential of Playland. The point that Judy Myers made a little while ago, I'm going to expand on. There's always been a balance of public and private operators here at Playland. The operation has always been split in that way. And what I think is a real problem, over the last 3 years, the administration has done absolutely nothing to make this park attractive to private business, the concessionaires. More concessionaires, obviously, in these booths. There are booths and areas that have been torn down and boarded up. They've been painted over, camouflaged, so when you walk around, you kind of forget that these were sites where money was once being made for the park. But concessionaires under contract to operate in these areas obviously would mean more revenue for the park. So what have we seen instead? Fewer concessionaires operating rides, games, offering food. Fewer, not more. And I think it's clear that it's a missed opportunity on the part of the administration, and certainly it's a very disappointing lack of effort on their part to realize the potential that exists there. Also a big problem, we've been discussing this for years, has been Playland's failed admissions policy, in which patrons must pay upwards of $30 for entrance into the park. That policy has continued to drive admissions down and attendance down, and that's a problem. And you know, even in the face of residents' complaints, that common sense tells you, if the industry seems to suggest stability and Playland institutes a policy and it goes into a nosedive as far as attendance is concerned, common sense says look into it. Residents' complaints are met with, and this I think surprised all of us, are met with no action on part of the administration other than to exacerbate the problem by insisting that spectators who come into this park who are residents of the county pay. And that was further driving people away. And the board fought to get that policy reversed. It's clear the policy has to be revisited. It's clear it has to be changed in some way. It has to be made a friendlier policy where people can get in here and make the spending decisions that they want to make for them and their families throughout the course of the afternoon or evening, instead of being banged hard at the gate and then they come in and they don't like it. And it's not that, you know, we've decided that that's how it is at the board. Our constituents have told us this since the first year the policy was put into place. Marketing is something that I need to touch on also this morning. Playland hasn't been marketed. If you want people to come, if you want to know how great it is, let them know how great it is, and the types of things that are available, from rides to loose boats. I mean, you've got to let them know that it's here and it's operating and it's a great place for the family to spend the day. The marketing effort has been meager. There's been no desire really to adequately fund the budget so that the proper marketing can be done. There are no TV buys. If there's a major TV buy out there, please, administration, step forward and show me what it is and why it hasn't been seen. One of the things I can point to, though, is the volume really needs to be turned up on marketing, and it needs to be turned up on the use of radio. Years ago, and not that many years ago, we had the most powerful, probably, radio station in the New York City metropolitan area as part of our marketing effort. Those of you I know who have been associated with this park remember the tremendous thrust given to our marketing effort by WPLJ. That made a big, big difference. That's gone. And there's been no effort to restore that kind of partnership, the use of radio to help enhance our marketing effort. You know, the county executive just hasn't provided the leadership that's needed here. There are no new revenue initiatives. There's no new attractions. The traditional rides, you don't see much that's new. You don't see, there was talk of water rides. You don't see water rides. You don't see new concessions. You don't see additional restaurants. And there's a whole lot of things that could be explored. And one of the things that I note as a legislator since 1998, and as former chairman of the Board of Legislators for 6 years when I was an integral part in the decision-making with the prior administration, there needed to be investment, ongoing investment in the operation, in the capital structure. Where is it? You don't see it because it isn't there. I really don't see any effort to improve Playland as an attraction during the time that Rob Astorino has been in office. I think for him to lament its purported decline while just neglecting to do anything about it is a failure of leadership, to say the least. As an observer in a different branch of government, that co-equal branch that is supposed to work with the executive to make things better for the county and people who live here, I don't see where he has the will or the heart to make Playland better. So let me conclude by saying, I think the truth is, for 3 seasons, Playland has been programmed to fail. And I got to ask, what's the real agenda here? The potential at Playland is large. The administration has wasted 3 years in this regard. Look around. Playland is ready to be lit up, to be a star attraction. But the county executive simply wants to pull the plug and give it away. I don't agree with that. Next up is a great addition to the board this year, and our very able chair of the Government Operations Committee for the Board of Legislators, Catherine Borgia.
Thank you, Bill. That's Borgia, B-O-R-G-I-A, spelled like the infamous Renaissance family. I was saying as I walked into the park that is commenting that I'm always happy to be at Playland because this is a happy place. Like my colleague, Legislator Ryan, I am a fan of Playland. I came here as a child, even though I didn't have the good fortune of growing up in Westchester. I lived on Long Island, and my family always made expeditions to Playland. I brought my children here. Now that my children are teenagers, they are coming here with their friends. This is a place that has a lot of emotional resonance for many, many, many Westchester residents. I think we hear all the time stories about things that happened in Playland. My parents had their first date in Playland. My grandparents got engaged in Playland. Westchester residents have been supporting and enjoying Playland for 84 years. We have several generations of people who have a very vested interest in this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful attraction. Playland's a vital part of Westchester's history. It's one of the many parks. We have beautiful, beautiful parks in Westchester County, and this is one of them that makes the quality of life in Westchester what it is. I'm not sure that everyone's aware that Playland is, the cost and revenue for Playland is tallied a little bit differently than our other parks. We have included in our tally for Playland the cost of debt services, which is $3.6 million, and is part of the investment that the county government has made in this park over the course of its long history. Only Hudson Hills Golf Course is the only other parks facility for which the debt service is included in their revenue versus their operating costs. So without that debt service, this amusement park is actually budgeted to make almost $1.6 million this year if it were tallied the way our other parks, including our other golf courses, except for Hudson Hills, are tallied. But parks are also about making an investment. Governments do the future generations a great disservice by not thinking long-term into the future. We have to maintain our infrastructure. We have to maintain our parks. If we fail to do that now, we leave future generations generations of legislators and constituents with a much, much, much greatly reduced quality of life and much bigger expenses as things become more dilapidated. That's why my board colleagues and I really enthusiastically support any good idea for Playland. We believe in public-private partnerships. I think an excellent public-private partnership that we see already happening in this iconic site is the Westchester Children's Museum. Earlier this week, I went to a presentation held in Ossining at the Ossining waterfront that talked a lot about what's going on with the Westchester Children's Museum. Thousands of people around Westchester support this. This is the kind of project that will make Playland a year-round facility for families and for school children all around the area, not just in Westchester. It's an excellent, excellent economic driver for what can be a revived site here in the future. I came into the county government in January, and I am a firm believer in working together, working across the aisle, working across the county for the people of Westchester. And I hope that we can work with the administration to come up with good ideas for this site. Unfortunately, I have to say, as the chair of government operations, it's been very difficult to get information about what the intended future of Playland is. And honestly, I feel that's a shame. I think we all want to see Playland succeed. We are very willing to work for any good idea that will make Playland succeed. And we want to make sure that the administration includes the board in their decision-making process, mainly because this is such an important site in Westchester County. In addition, I have a personal interest in making sure that the jobs associated with Playland are kept in Westchester County. Playland's one of the most significant youth employment opportunities for our kids here in Westchester County. I know in my home community of Ossining, we have scores of young people who work here every year, and we try to enable that in our community because we know that having our teenagers or students have good responsible jobs is a good way to launch them in life. So we want to make sure that that element of this park is included in any future plans that we have. We can't simply hand Playland over. We can't simply give Playland up and say, oh, it's a failure, it had a good run. We need to work together. This park is not dying. It's a beautiful place. Even on an overcast day, it's beautiful, historic, iconic. I do love it here. I'm a fan too, Bill. And we want to make sure that we don't continue to miss opportunities, that the Westchester County Board of Legislators will take all necessary actions to protect Playland, because we really believe that this is a very, very special place in Westchester County, and we are committed by our actions of seeing what the audit numbers are and our future decisions about this park to making sure that Playland stays in the hands of Westchester County residents and for their betterment. Thank you. I think we'll take questions. Yeah.
Yes. Are there any questions? Quickly. It is a public park.